Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Strong Draws. My name is Brett Strong, and today we're back to inking page 8 of Light Earth, issue number 3. And like I said in the past few videos, if you haven't seen the first 4 of them, I think this is part 5, go check them out. But like I've said in those, if you like what you see and want to get a copy of Light Earth, you can go to their Facebook page and or to the No Gravity Studios Facebook page. Links are in the description. Shoot them a message and they can get you hooked up with issues 0, 1, and 2, which are out now. And like I said, this is issue 3 that I'm working on here. And if you want updates on when this will be out or excuse me, kind of upcoming issues, again, that's where you can get all that information. So yeah, again, this is, I believe, part 5 of working on a page from layouts to final inks. I would normally, I'm not the colorist on the book, so I hand this line work off to the next person, who is Kitty Pierce, to do the colors. So, like I said, just today we're going to be doing the inks. And kind of like I mentioned in the last video, this cross-hatching technique I've been doing is kind of new, and just kind of having some fun playing around with it and seeing what kind of results I can get from it. And basically, kind of like I was saying, it just follows, for the most part, follows 2 planes of whichever surface I'm inking. Where I get those, like you see kind of there on his forearm, I do zipper line kind of things. Which, one of these days I'll do a video on kind of how I approach hatching and shading and all that stuff. So this panel was kind of a, if you again watch the other videos, it was a real kind of pain in the butt to get penciled properly, but once it's got done and got to the inking here, it actually was a lot of fun. Kind of came out pretty cool, I think. Just because of all the blood and violence of it was kind of interesting to draw. I really don't draw too, more often than not, nothing too overly violent or anything, so when I get the chance to, I kind of maybe go a little overboard. But and I kind of get that from the influence of like Ryan Otley. If you've seen his work, and he does, I know he's been doing Invincible for a long time, but just I love the over the top kind of goriness of it. Like if you, and I kind of take my cues as far as drawing violence or action, kind of from the cues of Paul Verhoeven, the filmmaker who did, I know he did the first RoboCop, he's done other movies, but he always does over-the-top violence more often than not. Like if you watch the first RoboCop, it is extremely violent, especially when Murphy's getting blown to crap, which makes him become the RoboCop. It's so over the top and so violent that it almost becomes unrealistic and a little more easily digestible. So that's kind of what I've always kind of done. I take it to an extreme that's so almost fantastical that it's almost easier to digest, just because it's still just a little bit removed from real life yet. So you'll see, like I said, if you've seen the pencils, you know kind of how much blood I put into this thing. But again, it's just so much over the top. Like I said, I think it's just a little less shocking and a little more digestible. We're gonna get going here with the blood. If you've seen my other videos, you'll kind of know this my process and my tools. But if this is the first time you've been here, thanks for joining me. And what I do is I pencil in Photoshop CC, and I ink in Manga Studio EX4. And I have my Wacom Cintiq 12WX, and I'm using a Mac, if that makes any difference. It's kind of an older model. I don't even know which one it is anymore. And then I'm just using the G Pen in Manga Studio EX just to pretty much do 90% of the line work, if not all of it at this point. And generally, it's set in about a point zero, or what is it, 0.30. Unless I'm doing big shadow areas, then we'll jump it up to anywhere from 1 to a 1.00 to a 2.00, depending on the area I'm trying to cover. Again, just kind of. Now for lighting, it's good to study from photos in real life and other comic book artists to kind of see how they handle their shading and lighting. But, it doesn't have to be perfect. In comics, we tend to exaggerate and embellish and really take artistic license to make the artwork more dynamic and just generally, hopefully, look cooler in the end. So a lot of these, I have a designated light source, which is kind of the top. It's kind of coming from the top left of the panel, I guess. And so I kind of try to stick to that overall, but every once in a while you can kind of stray from that just to help sell the shape or form of whatever you're trying to shade, just to, again, add a bit more dynamics and just to make it look kind of cool and overall. Or sometimes, with depending on the shot, like with what I'm doing here, where I'm putting this in the foreground. Doing that for two reasons. One, the kind of like I was saying in the last episode, is the more things you have in succession, the more dynamic and 3D the image is going to look. So I put that up there, number one, for that, to have something in the extreme foreground. But also what it does is, what you can do with solid blacks and shadowing is move the eye around the page properly. So by putting that up in the top corner, not only does it look like there's something in front of everything and gives more depth to the panel, but it also focuses your eye to where I kind of want it to go, which is more towards the center action of this all, which pretty much to me is Rav there driving his axe into the monocle. And that's something you always want to kind of keep in mind when designing your pages and doing your layouts, is what's the most important thing in the panel, and what can you do to draw attention to that. So if I wanted, like I said, in this one there's quite a bit going on. Even in the small panel, we got the guy running out of arrows, we got Rav killing the monocle. I got this one here running his sword through another soldier. So it is actually quite a, it's a little bit of, stuff going on in a small panel. But again, you gotta kind of prioritize what is the most important thing in the panel and try to draw your attention, the reader's attention there. And also, when you're doing layouts, always try to think what's the most important panel on the page, and try to make that the biggest panel. So the bigger the panels you have, also the quicker people are going to skim through the page, unless you have it covered in a lot of dialogue. So if you're doing action pages, the fewer panels you have, probably the better, just because you want it to keep a pace and keep the reader moving on, and then not worry, because generally action sequences or fights in real life you hear people say it all the time, it happened really fast, I don't remember exactly what happened, and can't remember the details. So if you kind of keep that in mind when you're doing action scenes, and just keep very little dialogue, very few even sound effects if necessary, but just to kind of keep the panels big, keep very few of them, and just move the eye along, move the reader along, because that'll make them have more of a sense of urgency and really hopefully feel the action a little bit better. Just laying in some drop shadows, a few little background elements to put them in an environment here. And again, backgrounds are, generally the thing people least like to draw. They can actually be a lot of fun if you look at it as any other part of the drawing aspect. I mean, drawing people can be fun. It's generally the most fun. But it at a certain point, like with the people, I'm always trying to constantly learn and study and do different things and try different techniques to get different results. Because at a certain point, you've drawn the same thing over and over and over again, and I think that's where your improvement comes from. Is at a certain point, you look at your work and you're like, I've done this so many times, what can I do to make it different? Or you start seeing things that you've done wrong, or you want to try something different. So, even though I'm still trying to learn and get better at drawing, figures, I've gotten to a point where I think I'm not great at, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but there's always room for improvement in everything. But it's not as important, I can think differently about it as I'm doing it, I guess. But to me, I guess my point is I'm trying to get better at backgrounds, because I've been drawing people for so long, and again, if nothing else, I know I can make the people look good. So now it's just more fun to learn how to draw backgrounds for me at this point, and how to make trees look proper, look right, or rocks, or mountains, or buildings, or whatever the background elements are going to be in any given story or panel. Again, just laying in these things. Like the trees, I've been drawing differently, because I kind of stumbled upon something else I wanted to try, and kind of liked the results. So I'm just kind of experimenting with that a little bit more in these pages. Adding some shadows here. And trees are actually a lot of fun to drop shadows on, because you just kind of make bric-a-brac on them on one side, and try to emphasize the shape and roundness of the tree, but also give some texture and whatnot. So anyway, we're getting kind of close to the end. I did want to mention, I think I'll talk about it a little bit more in the final video, which I'll have up November 1st. But I think I'm going to be running a special deal on commission work throughout the month of November. So make sure you check out my next video for details on that. Also, on my Facebook page and Twitter page, I'll be making, kind of be putting details up there. So if you want to follow me there, links to Facebook and Twitter in the description below. Otherwise, I'm going to finish up this panel here. Just kind of making these weird lines to show all the crevices and textures of the mountains here. Put a little moon in there. And I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit on this panel here. So anyway, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me for a little bit. And like I said, the next video and the final video of this series will be up November 1st. So until then, I will see you next time, and have a good day. Bye.